Welcome everyone to another episode of Tips from My Garage. My name is Lisiate Tonga. I'm a recovering addict. I'm the father of two boys, husband to a beautiful wife, owner of online consulting business Upgrade Version U.0, and author of ebook Q&A Between Two Addicts. And today I want to talk to you about exercise. Of all the disciplines you can learn, the one that will have the most immediate impact on alcohol and substance abuse is exercise. This is a must have in your toolkit to combat any and all addictions. Exercise is an absolute must. If you don't have exercise in your toolkit, in your repertoire, things, I'm not going to say that you can't do it, but it's going to be harder for you to do. You need things that are going to be impactful immediately. You need to feel like, or you need to know in your mind that this thing is working. And in my opinion, the best way to do that is to exercise, because you have to physically move your body. You have to engage your body in order for you to exercise. And so, because you have to move your body and because you have to put yourself under stress, physical duress, emotional, and mental stress as well, it is immediately impacting your body. It's not just impacting your body, but it's impacting your mind, your emotional state, um, and it engages every part of you. And so I think it's so important that we discuss the importance of exercise as pertaining to how this is going to help you during your recovery journey and to overcome whatever addictions or whatever challenges or bad habits that you might be struggling with. So I have a section in the Sober Soul system which it's called Pushback. And in this module, we talk about all the different disciplines that you'll be able to use to push back. I think the biggest one by far is going to be exercise. The simplest way for me to paint a picture for you would be if you were in some kind of a funk, if you're at a low point in your life, if you're depressed, if you don't think that anything is going well in your life, if you if your life is not what you think it should be, but you don't know how to overcome the challenges that you're going through, and that further puts you into a hole, that type of a funk. You really only have to move your body to change your emotional state. And I guess that's one thing with being in a funk, is if you're in a funk and you stay in that funk, you can't change anything, because you're not working to change your perspective, to change the angle that you're looking at anything. So if you're in a funk and you think, I need to get out of this funk, but you're staying put where you're at, you don't do anything about it, you're not going to automatically just come out of that funk. You have to do something. And moving your body is the best way for you to get out of a funk, because that is going to be one of the easiest and the quickest ways for you to change your emotional state. And that's really what you need to do when you're in a funk. When I talk about exercise, I'm not just talking about, going to the gym 7 times a week, or, doing some, running marathons, or not even marathons. I mean, not, running miles or anything like that. Like, exercise is really just kind of doing anything that's moving your body. That could be just as simple as walking. And walking is really one of the simplest forms of exercise, and one of the most underrated forms of exercise. There are so many different benefits to just to walking, and not not enough people are out there just doing one of the simplest things that you can do. We've just become a really lazy world, especially in westernized culture. We live in a day and age of convenience, and we get so used to living comfortably that we don't want to strain ourselves to do anything, to reach for the remote. In fact, I mean, that even for some people is really a difficult thing to do at times. It's a real first world problem, but we're not exercising enough, and we need to move our bodies more. And if you want to change your emotional state, if you think that the state that you're in currently is not a good one, the best thing that you can do for it is to get up and move. And also, the longer that you're moving forward, the greater the reward that you're going to get for it. So when you start doing things for an extended period of time, when you're pushing your body to sweat or to move more than you normally would, and to endure it for longer, those things help you in multiple ways. They build your confidence. They help you out by releasing serotonin. They give you a dopamine bump. They do all kinds of things to your body chemically in your brain. There's things happening that is doing your body and your brain and your mind good. It's going to be very difficult for you to solve a problem when you're sitting in a funk. When you sit in a funk and you don't do anything but indulge your pleasures, which puts you into a further funk. This doesn't this may solve the problem in the moment by giving you a hit of dopamine or some instant gratification, but it actually puts you into a bigger hole and into a bigger funk. And what that does is it's a vicious cycle. It'll keep you going back to your pleasure button because you want to continue to feel good about the funk that you're in. Will not feel good about the funk that you're in, but you want to feel good in your funk. And that you find the quickest way to do that is by indulging your pleasures. And that might be other type of vices. But you if you stay in the same place, in the same funk, that's never gonna change. It's only gonna get worse. And there's a quote here I want to read by Albert Einstein, and he said that we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. So you're not going to solve a problem if you're in the same funk that you were in when the problem started. So if you have the same mind that got you into the funk, you're not going to automatically have a better brain to get you out of the funk. If you want to get yourself out of the funk, you have to do something different. And doing something different often means that you have to move yourself physically to somewhere else. You can't change the perspective of your environment until you move your body to somewhere else where you have a different viewpoint. That's the only way that you're going to have another perspective. If you stay in the same spot, you can't change your perspective. The only way you change your perspective is from moving from one place to another place, because then you're in a different place and now you have another perspective. And so so that's kind of the same thing that Albert Einstein was saying, is like, if you're in a funk and you don't change your direction, you don't make any movements, you don't do anything different, you're not going to get out of the funk. You're not going to solve the problem. You have to be somewhere else. You have to move. You got to go somewhere. You got to learn something new. You have to educate yourself. You have to find another perspective, and you can't do that staying in the same place all the time. Staying in the same place only makes things worse for you. And so you need to move your body. You need to change your perspective. You need to change your viewpoint by physically moving yourself from one place to another place, or by putting yourself under some physical duress so that it tries your body, it tests your body, and you get some kind of a benefit from that. And the thing is that you can still, those same things that you're trying to do to get pleasure quickly, you can still get that pleasure, and or that release of endorphins or those dopamine hits that you're looking for. But you just have to work for that. If you do a little bit of work for those things, you can still get the same reward. And the thing is that people just don't want to do that. They just think that's just too much. It's just so much easier for me to press this pleasure button and get the fix that I need immediately than it is to get up off the couch and go and do something hard, or go and do something physical. Walking around the block is too much for me to do. I'd rather sit here and eat whatever it is that I want, or drink, or do drugs, or whatever your vice is, because that requires no effort whatsoever, and you get the pleasure immediately. That is what is killing our society today. Westernized society is so unhealthy because we're choosing to we're choosing instant gratification over delayed gratification. We want to get things now. We want to get pleasure now. We don't want to delay it. We don't want to, we don't have time to do that, or it's too hard, or we think that it's too hard. But the truth of the matter is that's what's really keeping us trapped and keeping us in our funks. That's what's keeping you in your funk. If you're in a funk and you're still in that funk and you don't want to be there, like your brain's telling you, I shouldn't be here, or I don't want to be here, I'm better than this, but you don't do anything about it, you're never going to change. You're actually only going to ever get worse. And that's the truth of it. And so if you want to change, then you've got to do something different. You've got to move. You've got to learn. And it doesn't really have to be like some kind of you know a a so dialed in and disciplined routine. At the end of the day, you just got to start somewhere. You just have to start. You don't have to have all your stars lined up before you start doing things. Like some people make up these excuses like, oh, I've got to sign up to a gym, and then I've got to get a nutritionist, or I've got to get a meal plan. I got to, before I start doing exercising, I need to have all of these other things dialed in. You just have to move. And actually, for those of you who are new to exercise or haven't done much exercise, or for those of you that really want to try out to see how exercise um, works as a pushback to your alcohol problems, or your substance abuse problems, or whatever addiction it is that you're struggling with, I've put together just a real simple circuit for you to try, because maybe you don't know what it is that you should do. So I've got something for you. But before I share that with you, I want to go into more about why you really need exercise as part um, of your toolkit, as something that's going to be helpful to you in your recovery journey and in getting to where you want to go. And so the biggest reason why exercise is such an important discipline for you to not just learn, but to utilize throughout your recovery, is because it acts as a gauge for how much your alcohol or substance abuse has been affecting your health. And you can't really understand what your vices are doing to your health until you test it. So if you're in a lifestyle where you don't exercise much, where you don't push yourself, then you're never alerted. You're never there's never a side of your mind that says to you, "Oh, I need to start changing some things." And then if that's the case, the the next time that you are alerted by your body is when something drastic happens, like you go to the like something, you get physically sick or you have a disease or something has happened because of your lifestyle, and now your health is affected, and then your doctor tells you, hey, you're drinking too much, or you're smoking too much, or you're eating too much. And by then usually it's really a long slog on the way back. And so what exercise will do, if you can implement this immediately, is it's going to give you that wake up that you need now. And for some people you might think, oh, it's too late for me, it's this or it's that. It's not. Those are all just excuses that your brain is giving you so that you can continue to stay in your funk, so you can continually push on that pleasure button. But it's never too late. I started late with everything. I became a dad when I was 42. I'm about to be 50 years old with the 3-year-old. I had my last son when I was 47. And if I'm being honest, like, we're still trying. And like, if God willing, we have another baby, then I'm going to be, somewhere around 50 years old when I have another kid, if that's what God's will is for us. But I'm actually healthy enough to be able to handle that. Like, it's hard work, but I'm still physically fit enough to be able to take care of a third child if we're blessed to have one. But it's never too late. I met my wife when I was 37. And we had our first child when I was 42, or a second one when I was 47. So I started late. And yeah, I started late, but you know what? It's better late than never. And for you, I'd rather that you find out now than to wait until you have to go to the hospital, and then them have to tell you, hey, you've got to either do something or it's really serious condition for you. And the thing is if you don't take time to look after your health now, then you're going to have to spend a lot more than that to look after your health later. I'm paraphrasing a quote, and I wish I had it off the top of my head. It's a lot cleaner than the way that I just said it. But basically, is if you don't look after your health now, you're going to have to look after it later, and it's going to cost you more later. So you have a choice. You got a choice between somebody like me that's going to give you a healthy push in the back to go and do it, or wait until there's a doctor that says, hey, you have to do this or you're going to die, or there's going to be some serious health issues. And I'd rather you just look at this and just say, hey, look, this is a nice healthy push in the back. It might be a little bit hurtful um to hear these things, but really the reality of it is that it's something that needs to be dealt with, and you'll either deal with it now or you're going to deal with it later. The difference is if you deal with it now and you get a better handle on things before things get worse, then it is really better late than never, and you can have a better life. And who knows how good your life can be if you change the course or the direction that you're going in now. But so I know I just went on a tangent there, but basically you need to have exercise as part of your routine so that you can gauge what your what the alcohol and what the substance is doing to your body. And so you, if you don't, you stay kind of in the dark. There's the part of your brain that keeps you in the dark about what's really happening to your body. And what you need is for that part that is in the dark to come to light. And the best way for you to bring it to light is by shocking it into waking up, so that you can put the light in the dark corners of your mind, so that you can see the reality of what's really going on with your body and your mind and your spirit. I want to share with you just something simple. It's just a simple circuit. So this is something that you can just take and immediately test it out at home to see how this works as a pushback to alcohol and to substance abuse, and and how it becomes a gauge for you. So what happens is, when if you haven't been using exercise and you start to exercise and you struggle with alcohol and you struggle with substance abuse, the exercise is going to show you, or it's going to tell you where you're struggling and just how much of an effect your vices have on your body. So here's the circuit that I was talking about. So it's a 40-meter sprint, it's 20 push-ups, it's 20 sit-ups, 20 lunges, and 20 star jumps or jumping jacks. And this will be 3 rounds. Now, this, I would just say, do the best that you can. If you're not used to exercising, you can start out slowly. You can start out with walking it or jogging it. Um, and the push-ups and the sit-ups, you can cheat on those as long as you try to do them. But what we're really trying to jumpstart here is we're trying to shock your body first of all into waking up and just saying, hey, you can't, if your body says to you, yeah, I can't actually do these things, that's really what you want to hear. You want your body to tell you that you can't do it because of your vices, because you drink too much, because you do too many drugs. And I know we've been talking about alcohol and substance abuse, but this also goes out to those of you that are struggling with poor eating habits, and those of you who are overweight or obese, or think that you're unhealthy because you eat too much. This this is for you as well. You really do want your body to tell you that you can't do these things because of your habits. Because when your brain says, hey, I can't do this exercise because I eat too much, because I smoke too much, because I drink too much, that's where your motivation is going to come from. You want your brain to tell you that you can't do these things so that you get motivated to change it. Because the more uncomfortable you are, the more your brain is going to look for equilibrium. Your brain wants to be at an even keel. It doesn't like being in a space where things are uncertain. And when you're uncertain about your health because of the lifestyle choices that you've made, then you're going to be motivated to change that. But if those things are kept in the dark, then you're never going to want to change that. If you never try yourself, if you never push yourself, you'll never know really how much of an effect your 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 lifestyle choices are having on your life. And for some, it has been too late. They found out the hard way, either by the doctor telling them, or they found out because, well, they never found out because they died. And by then it is too late, and that's the reality of the choices that you're making. Those choices that you're making to be to have instant gratification and to have that pleasure instantly is what's ultimately going to kill you if that doesn't get resolved. So this simple circuit is really just so that you can awaken yourself to the reality of your physical state, and more importantly, so that you get the motivation you need to want to change that. And the key to exercise is and always will be consistency. So this test that I'm inviting you to go and try out at home is just so that you can shock your body, so that you can be awakened to the fact of your reality. But more importantly, this is something you want to continue to do. You want to continually, consistently put your body under this kind of duress so that your brain continually reminds you that, hey, you're not where you want to be, and that your choices that you're making are poor and they need to be changed. And that if you don't change them, then things are going to get worse. You need that constant reminder every single day. That's what's going to give you the motivation to want to change that. If you stop the consistency, if you just do this as a one off test and say, okay, that was a nice test. Yeah, what he might say may have been right or whatever, but it was nice to see what was really going on. If that's what happens, is it dies out and you stop, then the motivation will stop, and then you will continue in your funk, and things will just get worse. And that's the truth of it all. And you may not think that, and you might lie to yourself that that's not really what's going on, but it's what's really going on. And you can continue to press that pleasure button to escape your reality, but the fact is still going to remain that you're in a bad place, and you're not going to get out of there until you make some changes. And that's the truth, and I'm just being honest with you. And that's what a good friend will do, is they will be honest. And that's what I want to be, is I want to be a good friend to you by being straight up and just being truthful about the reality of the choices that you're making with your life. Some of us get lucky. I was lucky. I made different choices. I was able to change my trajectory and have a better life. And others are not so lucky. The question is, are you going to be lucky? Are you going to be one of those lucky people, or are you going to be part of this statistic? That statistic is growing. It's getting bigger and bigger. More and more people are losing their health, losing their lives over poor choices that they're just deliberately choosing not to change. All of this because they want to have pleasure today instead of doing a little bit of work to change that. And it isn't a mountain. And it well, I lied. It is a mountain. Is it an elephant? It is an elephant. But how do you climb a mountain? How do you climb Mount Everest? One step at a time. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. That's what you're going to have to do. That's how you do this. You're not facing this as a whole, like, don't overwhelm yourself so much that you paralyze yourself from taking any action whatsoever. You deal with this just one thing at a time, one step at a time. If you've never exercised before, it just starts with one step. It's not like you're not going to look at this as, oh, I've got like 100 or 200 pounds that I have to lose, and overwhelm yourself to the point where you're depressed and have to go do more drugs or eat more food. That's what your brain is making you do. you know this is just a one step at a time. Take one step at a time. Find help. get the support that you need, get around some professionals, people that know what they're doing, uh, to help you to get onto the right path. So stay consistent. If you make exercise a part of your daily routine, and not just as a one-off, or for a period of time, but for the rest of your life, as part of your lifestyle, because it really should be part of your lifestyle. It does give you joy, it does give you happiness. Having more confidence in yourself is joyful. You can take pride in the work that you're doing, because it's hard work. But it doesn't have to be like you're not gonna, on your first day, run a marathon or go and lift, go and bench press 300 pounds. That's not what this is about. You're in it for the long haul, not the short fix. This is a lifetime. This is a marathon that you're running, or that you're walking one step at a time. Stay consistent. Keep those reminders coming. As long as those reminders come, then you will have that motivation that you need to want to change that. And that's what you're going to utilize to motivate, to push you along to continue on the journey. Exercise is the fastest and the easiest way for you to make change in your life, because you can do that right now. You can get up and start walking, and that will change your emotional state, give you some confidence, give you some serotonin, and you just keep doing that day in, day out. You don't have to know exactly what you're doing. You don't have to have a dialed in plan like I was talking about before. You just got to move, and you can work out all the other details as you go. You know, Stop waiting for all your stars to line up, or all your ducks to be lined up before you take shots. Take the shot now and work things out as you're going. Make a commitment to move your body every single day in whatever way possible. And if you can do that, you'll keep having momentum, you'll keep having confidence. It's going to work in your favor, and you'll work out everything else. I I I know that will happen. You got to trust the process. The process is to move and to keep moving, and you'll work out all the other things. Everything else will work out. You will find a way to make everything else work out. There's help everywhere. You just got to find it. Anyways, I hope that was good for you. I hope you got something out of that. If you have any issues, want to know more, reach out to me or find help wherever you can. Um, but if you move your body every day, do something to make you sweat every single day, it's going to be uphill from there. See you next time.
1,